Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. And there hasn't been a more important time to make education your business than now. As we see the landscape continue to shift and turn, the power of higher education is ever prevalent, and we need to celebrate those wins, don't we? There's great leaders out there doing great work. And I will tell you, as we have now passed 1,000 episodes of this podcast, I can't tell you how honored we are to be able to interview so many of those leaders and give them a voice. And you know what? Maybe a little bit of fighting back against the detractors of higher education. You know, this is a platform to celebrate the great work that we do. I've got somebody with me today that I've been looking forward to interview because it is like, it's, you know, I always say that I always come back home. I grew up in Syracuse. I went to a school called SUNY Oneonta. My parents both went to SUNY Buffalo. My sisters both, I have twin sisters, 3 years younger, both went to SUNY Brockport. All of my friends went to a SUNY school. So I've just been waiting for this. And I downloaded some special sounds for this individual today because I've been so excited. I'm going to bring him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. He is John King. He is the Chancellor of the SUNY system. Ladies and gentlemen, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to have this time with you, and I love that you're from a SUNY family.
Oh, man. SUNY, you know what? I even went to SUNY Cortland for a year. So SUNY Cortland and SUNY owned. It's SUNY everywhere. And when you grow up in New York, the SUNY system is a powerful state system, one of the most powerful state systems. And when I say powerful, I mean influential might be a better word. Influential state systems in the country. And a lot of people don't fully understand how big SUNY is and how many institutions there are. So first of all, thank you for being here, but lay the groundwork for us. Tell us, give us the 30-second when you meet somebody in the elevator that goes, what's a SUNY? Attention, higher ed leaders. Are you ready to transform your marketing and enrollment strategy? Don't miss Insights EDU, February 12th through 14th in New Orleans, the premier conference for higher education marketing and enrollment management. Spots are filling fast. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.
Let's go!
Ellucian Live is taking place April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida.
You just made the list!
Get ready for an unforgettable experience at Ellucian Live 2025. Join visionary leaders from institutions worldwide as we dive into groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge solutions, and transformative best practices that will ignite your passion for innovation. This is your chance to connect, collaborate, and propel your institution into the future. Do not miss out.
Let's go!
Do you want to get invites to special events? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes episodes, and original content? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Well, you can go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Sure. So SUNY is the largest comprehensive system of public higher education in the country. We've got 64 campuses, 30 community colleges within that 64. We serve about 370,000 students in degree programs, but we do a lot of workforce development. So in any given year, we see about 1.3 million students. And to give you a sense of what SUNY means for the state of New York, about 1 in 3 college graduates in New York State is a SUNY alum.
Amazing.
That's incredible. And the economic impact of that must be, I mean, we're talking what, multi-billion dollars of impact, right?
Oh, yeah. Something like a $31 billion impact on the state. It's extraordinary.
You know, your job's really unique. When you look across higher education, there are so many presidents of single institutions. A chancellor of a state system is it's not like there's that many, you know. And when you look at what you do, one of the questions that I think people would have, I know I have, so I'll just ask it, is how do you how do you even go to the restroom? Your time must be unbelievably tight. And so how do you split? You have political responsibilities, right? You're talking to political representatives for funding and otherwise. You have students, and you have the institution serving those students. And then you have infrastructure, services, building. I mean, there's just so much. How do you think about tackling these things on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I tend to think of it as splitting my time in thirds across three P's. Politics, people, and policy. So the politics side is doing a lot of work with the governor, the legislature. Earlier this week, I was in Washington, D.C. with our congressional delegation. So spending time with elected officials, helping them understand what we do at SUNY, what it means, how they can be helpful to us. Even local elected officials, our community colleges are really a shared enterprise with our local counties. And so a lot of time on the politics. The people side is, we've got 64 campus presidents, so that's a lot of folks to support. And then we've got senior people on our SUNY system team in every area. We've got a person who runs our SUNY construction fund that oversees all of our facilities work. We've got a person who runs our student success initiatives. We've got a person who oversees all of our operations activities like IT and procurement and finance. So supporting the people is about a third of the time, and then a third of the time on policy, right? Trying to figure out what are the initiatives that will help us advance our goals around student success, around research and scholarship, around diversity, equity, inclusion, and around economic development and upward mobility.
Epic.
That's a lot. Right. I mean, and maybe you were prepared for this. I mean, you did serve as the 10th Secretary of Education under President Barack Obama. Did that experience in the White House give you, I don't know, the chops to do this? Or did you walk into this job at SUNY and go, okay, wait a second. This is totally different than I expected. How did the transition look for you? Because that's really fascinating to go from one spot to the next where you're driving policy, kind of doing that at SUNY, but then you're so much closer to the student, I think, as the chancellor of SUNY.
Definitely. Look, I think about every job I've had in some way helping to prepare me for this job, from, when I was a classroom teacher at the high school level, all the way to serving as Secretary of Education, to after the Obama administration, I ran the Education Trust, which is a national civil rights organization that works on education equity issues in higher ed and in K-12. So I tend to draw on all of those experiences. I would say one thing I really love about SUNY, obviously being Secretary of Education was amazing. President Obama is incredible, and it was just the opportunity of a lifetime. And at times at the federal level, you're a little bit more removed. You might visit on any given day, a college campus or a K-12 school in some part of the country, but that's probably the only time you're going to see those people. Whereas at SUNY, I really feel a part of a community of 64 institutions. In my first 6 months as chancellor, I visited all 64, spent time talking with students, with faculty, with administrators. I continue to go back to each of the campuses. I have real relationships, not just with our campus presidents, but with their teams, with individual faculty members, with student leaders. So it's really satisfying as a career educator to have that direct connection to students and to the day-to-day of campus life.
Tell them like it is.
Just as a point, I would like to shout out a colleague of mine, Alberto Cardeye, the president of SUNY Oneonta. Selfishly, where I graduated from, all the SUNY schools are great, but of course, Alberto is my boy. I love, he's a cool dude. I like Alberto a lot. But
he's doing a great job.
What's that?
He's doing a great job.
He really is, and it's great to see it, right? It's great to see what I think is a resurgence in the value proposition of higher education. And I say that I've interviewed so many leaders, and I interviewed them during COVID and post-COVID and, so many presidents. And during these times where, and you know this as well as I do, that higher ed's confidence from the general public has been waning. And then, I hear these stories like, well, students are just going to pick something else besides going to college. And I'm just not seeing it. Yeah, enrollment's declining here and there a little bit. But everybody talked to on my personal life, everybody talked to on this podcast, every leader, no one is saying that. And I just go, where is it coming from? And why do we in higher ed, why did we allow that question to even come up, and why didn't we fight back earlier? It's like we're being reactive a little bit, and which is why I say it's a resurgence, but we kind of allowed people to question our jobs and the work that we do. What do you think about that in this state?
Look, we have to make the case about the value proposition, and we have to make it very concrete. The evidence is that if you earn a bachelor's degree, you're going to earn more than $1 million more over your lifetime as a result of that degree. If you look at the jobs that are available in the 21st century economy, they almost all, the good jobs that provide a family-sustaining wage, require some level of post-secondary training. Now, that might be a bachelor's degree, it might be an associate's degree, it might be a one-year certificate or a workforce development experience, an apprenticeship experience. But we do that too, right? That's happening on higher ed campuses too. So we are the pipeline for the workforce for the country, and we're affordable. One of the things I always say to folks about SUNY is we are delivering excellence affordably. The tuition at our four-year institutions at a SUNY Oneonta, $7,070 for the year. Right? That is an incredible value proposition. And when you look at the return on investment, the ROI for our students, it's extraordinary because we have them get this great educational experience at affordable prices. We make sure that students have a pathway to what's next, and we see the benefit in the economy of the state of New York.
You said affordability and the $1 million more a year that a bachelor's degree can bring individuals. And we're talking about ROI. And I have this little note for ROI. I did that on purpose because I want to be able to say that I'm the only one that played a clip from Wu-Tang to Chancellor King in a podcast.
That is true. But I love it. I love it.
But it's true, right? Cash, economic growth, and generational wealth accumulation. And we know that SUNY, we do, and we're going to tell the audience, and if they didn't know, SUNY serves so many different types of students, including students who are coming from lower economic backgrounds, students of color, first-gen students, and not just a few, in mass. And so what you're doing at the state system as the chancellor of the state system and for each individual institution is changing the dynamics of families forever through education. And that is something that we don't talk about enough.
That's exactly right. It's one of the things I love most about my job. Every day, I feel like I am helping to contribute to the American dream. Right? Over 40% of our students at SUNY are Pell eligible. And that's true across our institutions. So take Stony Brook University, it's a major research institution. It's part of the AAU. More than 40% of their students are Pell eligible. So when you compare that to some of the other highly selective campuses around the country, you compare that to other state flagships, you compare that to the Ivies, we are serving a much larger share of Pell eligible students, and we're making sure that when they graduate, they are ready to succeed economically and to help their whole family. Raj Chetty, who does a lot of work on economic mobility, has highlighted Stony Brook as an institution that does an incredible job bringing students from the bottom part of the economic distribution into the top part of the economic distribution. That's what we should be doing in public higher ed, and it's what we do at SUNY.
It's so good. And One question that I think people have from the chancellor role and view is about decision making and how that actually gets done. In fact, I can't verify if this was you, but I have sophisticated hacking equipment over here at the EdUp Experience, and I had this recording from like the first week that you took over. I can't verify if this is you. Hold on.
Execute Order 66.
I mean, it doesn't sound exactly like you, but I would imagine it's not that easy to just go, hey guys, we're just going to do this. 64 college presidents, politicians, students, people. How can you execute on an initiative when you see that you have to? But you may have, with that scope, you have inertia. There is no doubt. Inertia. There's traditionalists, and change is hard. And how can you take something that you see for the future, especially with the channels that you have, right? Different channels, information coming and go, we got to do this. But wait a minute, we have to build consensus. How big is that consensus? How easy is it to make decisions? How hard is it? So many questions in there. Can you talk about decision-making, execution at the system level?
Sure. Look, I think, in a sense, you really have three tools. You have incentives, right? And you can say, I'm going to put this money on the table for us to do these things. So, for example, I've long been an admirer of the ASAP and ACE programs. They were originated at CUNY, have demonstrated tremendous impact on persistence and completion. ASAP has been shown in randomized controlled trials to double completion. So when I first started as chancellor, I went to the governor, asked for her help, and we were able to get funding to scale ASAP and ACE to 25 of our campuses. So we put the money on the table. Campuses embrace the opportunity to do that. So that's on the incentive side. Then you have the policy rulemaking side, right? And there, as a system, after the very disappointing affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court, we said, look, across the system, we are going to prioritize in our admissions a continued commitment to diversity. And so we're going to ask our campuses all to weight first-gen status, low-income status, veterans, AmeriCorps alumni, adversity that students have overcome in their school or in their community as part of their admissions process. So that was us saying, as a system, here's a policy commitment we're going to make. And the third, and I think in some ways the most powerful, is the bully pulpit, right? Is persuading folks and mobilizing folks, really helping to lift up their ideas, their vision around shared goals. So one thing that we're working towards at SUNY is we want every undergraduate to have an internship experience, a paid internship experience before they graduate. So we've been able to put some money on the table, but we've also been able to partner with other state agencies. So we're placing students at the Department of Environmental Conservation. We're placing students at the Parks Department in our Climate Corps internship experience. We launched a partnership with the Brooklyn Public Library to place students there, right? So we're figuring out every way to mobilize the business community, the nonprofit community, state agencies, our campuses, to drive this growth of internships. And so we're the voice and champion of it, but it's really about mobilizing our whole community around it.
And how do you, when you think about the imperative of, it sounds easy, like enroll students, retain them, graduate them, get them jobs. That's super easy, right? I mean, who couldn't do that? Very complicated. I mean, especially when you get into the nuances like transfer credit through systems, technology adoption through a system, data, data and analytics. Can I pull, it's like a question, can you pull 68 individual dashboards at any given time, to see how a school's doing? So you think about all those nuances to do what sounds like really simple work, although it's complicated. And then you see something, we have these recent election results that change how we may have to think about things. Is there a prep process, because you have the external and you have the internal. The internal doesn't change no matter who is running the country. You have to enroll, you have to retain, and you have to graduate students. It doesn't matter who the governor is. It doesn't matter. Like, that is core. But you have external factors that affect your ability to do that easily or more easily. Is there a prep process you go through to say, okay, there's been changes at the state level, or the changes at the governor, or changes with the president or whomever. We have to get ready for this or get ready for that.
Oh, sure. Look, I think one thing that's essential is doing a lot of listening, right? And so one of the reasons I did visit all 64 campuses in my first 6 months was to hear directly from folks. What gets in the way? What are the obstacles? What do you feel like you need? What would help you do better on recruitment of students? What would help you do better on retention of students? What's missing and getting in the way for students, preventing them from completing? What else do we need to do to expand research? We have a goal of doubling research across the SUNY system. What do you need in order to accomplish that? So that listening is key. And then when there's a new administration, look, every administration presents opportunities and challenges.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is try to look at, given what I know from the listening I've done about where the needs are, where are the opportunities and how can I protect against some of the challenges? And so I was in DC earlier this week with members of our congressional delegation, talking to them about the importance of the Pell Grant program for SUNY. And as we go into a new Congress and they're debating how to allocate scarce resources, we need investment in Pell so that we can deliver on the American dream. I was also talking with them about funding for NIH and NSF and some of the other important federal funding streams that are helping us find cures to diseases, helping us position us for economic competitiveness in areas like artificial intelligence, quantum. And, now different members have different priorities. Some folks are very focused on national security and what are we doing to protect against China and their effort to out-compete us. There are other folks who are, more focused on rural issues because their districts, are largely rural, and they are trying to think about, how do we leverage these technologies to improve agricultural yield and so forth. So you try to be responsive to what folks are most passionate about, but connecting what they're passionate about to what you know from the folks at the system is really needed. And I actually am very optimistic. There will no doubt there will be challenges and there'll be issues where we may disagree with a new administration on policy. But I think there are opportunities on workforce development. There are opportunities to build on the CHIPS Act and the effort to help the U.S. Restore our leadership in the chips industry. There are, I think, opportunities around artificial intelligence, quantum, renewable energy, these emerging areas of the economy where we could see huge growth, and we can get the new administration and Congress to see the logic of making strategic investments.
Yeah, you remember that person that you completely agreed with politically on every single thing they said? Like, that doesn't exist for us as individuals, right? We're always having to work cross-functionally together. And we know from, let's say, recent history, maybe even going a couple years past, that we've seen such division in this country. And it seems to me that education is the solution to a lot of our problems. More education means more critical thinking. Less education might mean less critical thinking. And so we've never had a better example of when a college degree makes a big difference than over the last couple of years. And as we go into the future, and you said something that, of course, what resonates with me.
Artificial intelligence.
Now, as we look at what's happening in our world and how AI is making its impact, not only in the classroom when it comes to teaching and learning, and the adoption of or resistance against artificial intelligence in teaching and learning classrooms. Is it a gotcha tool or is it an enhancement tool? And it can depend even down to the faculty member. But artificial intelligence embedded in the technology products that we have, artificial intelligence to get data faster to help with retention. You think about things that AI could help with, and I go, credit transfer, speed up credit transfer. Because if there's there's somebody that wants to go from an institution to a SUNY school, maybe even within SUNY schools, and it takes them 2 weeks to get a credit transfer evaluation. That's 2 weeks to go, you know what, this is too hard. I'm going to do something else. So you think about how AI can help. How are you thinking about technology? This is the general question after that long buildup. How do you think about technology to serve SUNY at a system level? Is it below the system level to institution by institution? You know, how do you think about the future of technology?
You just made the list.
Mark your calendars for Insights EDU 2025, February 12th through 14th. Insights EDU 2025 is the can't-miss higher education marketing and enrollment management conference of the year. We're taking over New Orleans with speakers from Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top schools across the country. Discover how AI is transforming marketing and enrollment management, how to assess online program opportunities, and meet the demands of today's modern learner. Don't wait. Spots are going quickly. Register now at insightsedu.com. Welcome to the era of the modern learner.
Let's go.
Are you going to miss Ellucian Live this year?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So you might as well register right now at elive.ellucian.com. Ellucian Live 2025, April 6th through 9th in Orlando, Florida. Do not miss it.
Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe on two levels. One is on the research side. We've been fortunate, thanks to Governor Hochul's leadership, to get what will be a $400 million investment in AI capacity. We're going to build what will be the largest supercomputer on a higher ed campus at University of Buffalo. And researchers at UB, at Stony Brook, Binghamton, University at Albany, Columbia, Cornell, NYU, and RPI will all be able to run research questions on that supercomputer to really ensure New York's leadership and ensure the opportunity to use AI to advance the public good, right? We know that Meta and Google have a lot of compute capacity for AI, but they're focused on a profit margin. We want to be able to do research on questions like, how can we treat disease better? How can we diagnose disease earlier? How can we use AI tools to help students with learning disabilities? How can we use AI tools to improve advanced manufacturing? How can we use AI to do analysis of weather patterns and to anticipate extreme weather events and better protect against flooding and loss of life in extreme weather events? So that is a very exciting project. We are really looking forward to that. We've actually launched the initial version of it thanks to help from the Simons Foundation, and we're in the process of building this supercomputer. So it's very exciting work. So that's on the research side. On the kind of campus side, your point about transfer is exactly right. So we are thinking about how can we use technology to have a lot more transparency about transfer so that students really know for every course they're taking, how would this count for credit depending on what major I might choose across all of the SUNY system. We're also thinking about how can technology help us improve advising for students about course taking, making sure that they are in the right sequence of courses, making sure that we're intervening when students get off track. Rather than waiting to see that the student failed the class, are we intervening after that first midterm if they didn't do well? Are we flagging that for faculty so that they can intervene? So we're thinking a lot about that. And then we're thinking about some of the operational things that we've got to do. For example, food insecurity, huge challenge across college campuses. The federal SNAP program can be a great resource to help very low-income students access food. But we often don't make that connection between the students that we know are eligible and the SNAP program. So we're trying to leverage technology to address some of those gaps.
Can I get a witness?
I love it. I love the talk. I love the action. It's so important, and we know technology is a thing, but we also know that the human touch matters and will matter as a value
100%.
proposition, no matter how much tech we have, right? I mean,
Totally.
It's
Totally.
faculty, it's student, it's interaction, it's mentorship, it's teaching, it's learning, it's the human part of critical thinking, of reasoning. And you brought up something that matters a lot to me. In my time in higher ed, literally being on the groundwork, looking at credits, how they move and all that, and you come across a student every now and then and go, oh, wait a minute, they have enough credits to graduate. And they're in another, like literally the student could have graduated and now they're taking, or they've lost credits, or the pathway. And it's like, if we're creating an ROI, if we are going to protect the value of higher education, we have a responsibility to account for lost credits, for pathways, to take a student and say, okay, you took this one change, now here you go. This is where you're going. I'm really passionate about like prior learning assessment for military members. If you've gone off and you've done something and you've been, the easiest thing to describe prior learning assessment and credit transfer for me is like a medic in the military. If you've been a medic and you've been in an active military situation, it feels like you could get some credit transfer to becoming a nurse or something else, right? So those things matter so much to students, and we're as institutions built to not innovate. We're built for hundreds of years to stifle innovation, and then we and now end up in this world where you have to innovate to stay relevant. It's a double-edged sword, as they say, And
look, on prior learning assessment, I think one of the things we've got to help people see is that when you give that student who was a medic in the military credit for that experience, they are more likely to enroll, they are more likely to stay and finish. And so prior learning assessment isn't giving up credits that you could have charged the student for. It's actually facilitating students coming to the campus and succeeding.
And honoring that competency, right? And we talk about, CBE is up and coming. You probably have seen the 90 credit bachelor's degree starting to make its way around. In fact, you and I will both be at a conference coming up in the next week. I think you're keynoting. I'm going to be podcasting live. We should have done this in person. I didn't even think about it. But maybe I'll try to grab you. But, we're seeing these innovations start to take place. Can you talk about any innovations going on within the SUNY system, conversation, subscription-based modeling, CBE, anything like that?
Yeah. Well, certainly on the prior learning assessment, we adopted a system-wide policy on prior learning, and we're working with our campuses to not only capture things like military experience, but experience on training that folks may have done through the union. Trying to capture some of the work-based learning experiences that students have had so that they can get that full range of credits, as well as, of course, things like AP and IB and so forth. We've got an initiative around micro-credentials. So we are offering over 500 micro-credentials now across the SUNY system, in many cases co-developed with employer partners. And we see those micro-credentials as something that will help people advance at their job, but it also may be the thing that gets them to advance in their academic career as well, and maybe the bridge into a degree program for students. So we're very excited about that. And then we've got a partnership with the Department of Labor where we're increasingly doing apprenticeships, earn and learn opportunities for students. So students aren't just hearing about what happens in the workplace, they're actually in the workplace doing the work and earning credit alongside of it.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I like what you said about micro-credentials and the way you said it, because it's like the antithesis of creating micro-credentials is to not use your own material that you help co-create with the business to something else at the university. It's mind-blowing, and I could actually name universities right now that people I've interviewed that have, where their faculty or whomever have created micro-credentials in a specific discipline, and they don't take their own stuff for credit into a degree program or else. It's like, do we want to build loyalty in higher ed? And that's something that's missing. You know, you think about, I have 3 degrees from 3 institutions, and you know, how do we build loyalty? And, you know, Marriott rewards this higher ed thing that we have going on. Maybe for every A I receive, like, you know, my dad used to give me $3. Maybe for every A I receive, I get, you know, 100 points for successful course completion. And if I amass enough points, I can reduce the cost of my master's degree or use it towards swag or what innovation in different industries and bringing that to higher ed. Is that because you get a view of that few do with the number of companies you work with, like Micron, which I want you to talk about because that is massive, but you get to see some of that innovation. Do you want to bring some of that in?
Absolutely. Look, you know, there's been a lot of talk over the last decade about stackable credentials, but it's not enough to just talk about it. We have to do it, and we have to make those pathways clear for students. One of the things that we're doing with Micron, you know, they're going to build a chip fab outside of Syracuse. It's going to bring 50,000 jobs to the Syracuse.
Shout out to the Cuse and Onondaga Community College.
Exactly. OCC. Exactly. So OCC is really partnering very closely with Micron. They are co-developing and have begun implementing a 1-year certificate program that will lead right to entry-level jobs at the fab. They actually had some of the first participants in that program intern last summer at their Idaho facility. So they're building that program with the idea that students might do that first, then they start working at Micron, then they might say, well, I want to move up. Let me go back and finish my associates at OCC. Then they might say, you know, I really want to move into more of a management role. Let me go back and finish an engineering degree at Oswego or at SUNY Poly. And then they might say, well, actually, I'm, you know, this is what I want to do, and I want to move into a senior management role. Let me go back for an MBA or a PhD. We want to have the full pathway available to students. And they may not do that all in sequence. It may be a few years in between those different steps as they move towards their ultimate career goals. And, you know, I think Micron would say one of the reasons they chose Central New York is that we can deliver the workforce they need because of the incredible capacity of the SUNY system.
I like that.
Very passionate about that. My mother still lives, she lives in Baldwinsville, New York, which is central New York. My aunts and uncles all out there. So to see that transformation of Syracuse and the central New York region and seeing business brought in, because, you know, look, I grew up, you know, with, I don't know, 12 years old with my arms up in the air. So I probably was sitting around 5.5, 6 foot, and the snow piles were taller than my arms. And, you know, businesses for a long time left Syracuse, New York, and the central New York region because they couldn't operate. There's a lot of snow back in the day. And now the weather's changing, a whole nother issue. But businesses are coming back into central New York, and it's revitalizing the area. It's creating new jobs, and it's a beautiful place to live. And so you see how those partnerships with SUNY change geographies, right?
100%. I mean, we are seeing in New York an advanced manufacturing renaissance, and SUNY is right at the heart of that. You know, we've got this incredible Albany Nanotech facility that is really the premier site for semiconductor industry research in the country. We were just awarded $825 million research center through the CHIPS Act. That Albany Nanotech facility has spurred a whole semiconductor industry boom in the state. We've got Global Foundries in the capital region. We've got Wolfspeed in the Utica area. So that's amazing. And we're preparing folks for all of those companies. But we've also got battery technology. We've gotten a huge amount of NSF funding at Binghamton We have a Nobel Prize winning faculty member who's leading cutting edge research on battery technology. The hope for the Southern Tier is that battery technology will become a regional industry and provide tremendous opportunities for new companies and existing companies in the battery technology space. So we're always thinking at SUNY about how can we help drive economic development. At Stony Brook, they're doing nation-leading work on quantum. They just had one of the first spin-off companies from their quantum research launch and get significant private equity investment from a firm that does a lot of defense investment, because quantum is the future of cybersecurity and the future of communication. So, my pitch often with legislators, with the governor, with our members of Congress is the New York State economy, its future growth is bound up with the success of the SUNY system.
Outstanding.
I don't have you for much longer, but I do want to talk about the dollar bills just a little bit. As they say, Chancellor King, it's all about the Benjamins. And I know that funding and the case for funding is ever present and ongoing. The other part of that is, in higher education as a whole, we like to do everything. We like to do every single thing, idea of somebody brought this up, we'll start this program, we'll start that program. How do you think about what you're going to stop doing so that you maximize the resources that you do receive? Because you can't, it's a never-ending stream of money that doesn't exist, right? So you have to take what funding you have, the resources, the tuition revenue, and say, here are the initiatives that we are going to invest in, and here are things that we have to stop doing if we're going to do this thing well.
And that's exactly right. Look, I think one of the benefits of being a system of 64 campuses is we have something for everybody. We always say there is a place for every New Yorker at SUNY. Anything you want to study, anything you want to learn, we've got it across the 64 campuses. And so that means that not every individual campus has to offer every imaginable field of study, but you can find it at SUNY. So in some cases, we have campuses that are thinking strategically, hey, this program only has 3 students enrolled in it. This is not a very effective use of our resources, and students could pursue that area of study, just down the road at another institution. So that's one of the things that, it's hard to do, but we are certainly doing at a number of our campuses, looking carefully at program review. One of the things we're doing with our community colleges is saying, when you've got 2 campuses that are relatively close together, can a student start their gen ed coursework at campus A, but do the equipment intensive high cost program study at campus B? So maybe most of their coursework is 15 minutes from their house at campus A, and maybe they have to go 45 minutes or an hour to get to campus B. But that way, the equipment only has to be at one location, and students can take advantage of those opportunities. We're doing a lot to think about shared services. Last year with the federal FAFSA problems, it was a huge challenge, but one of the things we did was a lot of system level collaboration around communicating to students and families about the FAFSA. And it really spurred us to launch a shared financial aid service.
Wow.
Because we saw that there's an opportunity to consolidate investments in financial aid and free up dollars to put into student supports and student advising and other areas.
You said something about like cross-registration, which is also, when you think about what you talked about, take the gen eds at this campus, do the intensive work at this one, cross-register, campuses sharing courses. Sounds so easy. I mean, this higher ed stuff sounds like a cinch. Then you get into, you have to have a certain number of credits at this institution in order to confer a degree per the accreditation. Which one's going to confer? Do you take 50% from this or 51% from that, 49% for this? So it is complicated. So it does need a lot of attention. It needs technology to accurately give you the information. It needs student experience right? Because you don't want to disrupt the student experience, no matter what initiative you put in place, because that one disruption, when you talk about that Pell student who gets in a fender bender on their way to that second campus, and they get slapped with a $400 bill to fix their car, and they go, you know what? I don't think I can do school anymore. It's the first thought that comes, right? Because students use things that happen in their life as justification for stopping something hard, right? There's a certain amount of grit that it takes, but we all have those moments where we're like, I don't know if I can do this. And it is that makes this job really hard. And that is an essential, like the imperative of that one bill, that one moment, that one thought, and preemptively being with the student to talk them out of it or self-talk them out of it. So I just always come back to these complicated concepts sound easy at first, but really what we're doing is trying to build self-confidence and grit in students.
100%. We need to help every student find their place and their people, right? And so you think about what ASAP and ACE are able to achieve. A lot of it is the advisor, the cohort experience, somebody who's going to say, keep going. You're struggling in this class. Have you gone to office hours? You're struggling with this bill to fix your car. Here's an emergency financial assistance grant so you can tackle that. We've got a long-standing program, the Educational Opportunity Program, which is for very low-income students who may not meet the entrance academic standards for an individual campus, but can come to the campus with intensive support and thrive. And that EOP program has, for generations, been an incredible engine of upward mobility. We see it with sports teams. That coach who's the one who's reminding the student, hey, you got to keep your grades up. Hey, you got to come to the sports team study hall before exams, before midterms. So the challenge is, do we have that for every student? And one of the things that we're thinking a lot about at SUNY is how do we improve advising? How do we build more of these communities within the community so that there are folks who students know are going to be their champions and their advocates?
As we come to an end here, you talk about community. There's so many campuses at SUNY. Your communications team said that if I asked you what your favorite SUNY campus was, is that you would answer here live on the Epic. No, they didn't say that. I know you won't answer that. But there's such diversity in 68 campuses, different, but shared priority, different ways of achieving that, those goals, which is ultimately to do what I talked about, retain, enroll, retain, and graduate. Enrollment. Got to get the message out to the students and let them know that education is possible. How passionate are you about that?
Oh, it's huge. Look, we have this amazing thing, this incredible gift that we can give. So we've got to tell people about it, make sure they take advantage of it. The good news is enrollment is up across every sector at SUNY. This year, it was up across every sector at SUNY. Last year, that's the first 2 consecutive years of enrollment increases in 15 years. So we're doing a lot to get the message out and to help students see the range of opportunities. We did a campaign last year, learn a trade at SUNY, because we want students to know, come to our community colleges, we can help you learn a trade. Don't get deceived by the predatory for-profit companies that are promising you a lot and delivering you a little. Come for an affordable education around a trade that you are passionate about. It's telling students who care a lot about the environment. They may not know that we have the Environmental Science and Forestry College in Syracuse.
Right.
It's an amazing place where everybody there is so passionate about the environment. You've got folks who grew up worried about pollution and climate change, and they're super passionate. You've got other folks who grew up hunting and fishing and are super passionate because of their commitment to conservation. They're all together at this place where everybody wants to make sure that we're protecting our environment. We've got a maritime school where students are in uniform, preparing for jobs in commercial shipping that sometimes have starting salaries in the 6 figures, or they're going to the Navy or the Coast Guard. But students don't know that we have that in the Bronx. incredible opportunities. So, we often will describe different SUNY campuses as hidden gems, and I feel like part of my job is to make sure they're less hidden. They are certainly gems, but they've got to be less hidden.
Discover the diamond vines. Stretch your legs for me, Chancellor King. Last question. Well, really not a question. Open mic. What else do you want to say about SUNY? I don't have a general question other than stretch your legs and tell us what we need to know.
Now listen up.
Insights EDU 2025 is almost here. Join us February 12th through 14th in New Orleans for the most anticipated higher education marketing and enrollment management event of the year.
I like that.
Imagine 3 action-packed days filled with game-changing insights, real-world case studies, and a hands-on workshop designed to transform your marketing strategy and boost your program enrollment. Learn from speakers at Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top schools across the nation. Network with industry leaders, exchange ideas, and discover the tools to drive real results. This is your opportunity to stay ahead of the competition and meet the demands of today's modern learners. Don't wait. Spots are filling fast. Mark your calendar, rally your team, and head to insightsedu.com to register now. The era of the modern learner is here, and you need to be part of it. We'll see you in New Orleans. At Lucian Live 2025, we're going to explore the magic of innovation. We want to imagine, believe, and achieve. It's happening April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to explore technology, modernization, and
Artificial intelligence.
explore the latest technology solutions, discover industry insights, and make valuable connections as a global community. It's time to register for Ellucian Live 2025 at elive.ellucian.com.
Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one project I'm really excited about. I think one of the big challenges in the country at the moment is making sure that we build a healthy civic culture, that we have healthy civil discourse, that folks can disagree agreeably, that students understand the importance of voting and participating in civic life. And, I started out as a high school social studies and civics teacher, so this is very important to me. We are doing a lot in that space. We've got a set of civic engagement fellows across all of our campuses, faculty members who are working to help their colleagues think about how do you build the habits of civil discourse across the curriculum. We are adding to our general education requirements a competency in civic discourse. So that will be required for all of our students. And we launched this year, thanks to the leadership of Governor Hochul and Lieutenant Governor Delgado, the Empire State Service Corps. So we've got 500 SUNY students who are being paid to do 300 hours a year of public service work. They are also eligible, many of them, for AmeriCorps Education Awards on top of that paid 300 hours. They're doing things like tutoring, working on environmental issues, working on anti-hate, anti-bias work, helping to address food insecurity. These students are so passionate. It's an incredible opportunity. We had over 2,000 applications in a 4-week period for those 500 slots. And we really want to grow that because I think service is one of the best ways that we can instill that sense of community, that sense of civic participation.
Well, there you have it, everybody. He said a lot, but Chancellor King really just scratched the surface on the impact that SUNY has. You can't cover it in an hour on a podcast. This is ongoing. It's hundreds of thousands of students, economic impact beyond anything you can imagine. But it's been this is an honor for me because the SUNY system is near and dear to my heart and my family's, and so many people that I know growing up in New York. I can't tell you, I can't even describe it. But it is, I've become passionate about it, right? That's why I got into higher ed in the first place. It's the experience I had in college, and the next thing you know, I end up in higher education. A lot of us trip and fall into it in different ways, but it's that experience at a SUNY campus or others that gives you that passion for service to other people. And Chancellor King, you've been serving others for quite a long time, but I want to make sure that you had a good time on this podcast, or else I haven't done my job, and I'm just going to start hitting all sound effect buttons just to get all at once. Did you have fun?
I had a great time. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Chancellor John King of the SUNY system. Check him out, State University of New York. You've just ed upped